The Ariani Plains stretched wide between two ancient African kingdoms, Okambo in the east and Darunji in the west. To a traveler, it was only earth, scattered acacia trees, tall elephant grass, rustling through the Harmattan wind, red soil that clung to bare feet. But to the people of Okambo and Darunji, that stretch of land was identity, inheritance, and sacred ancestry. Each kingdom believed it belonged solely to them, and that belief sharpened into hatred. The first clash began at dawn, when Okambo herders crossed the plains with cattle, and Darunji farmers, who had planted beans the night before, woke to trampled fields. Harsh words became spears. One death led to another. Within months, both kingdoms stood armed, and for 2 long years, the drums of war replaced the drums of festivals. Okambo warriors marched with iron shields and red cloaks under King Munajo, a tall ruler whose voice carried like thunder. He believed the land held the bones of ancient chiefs. To surrender it meant surrendering their history. In Darunji, Queen Rashima led her soldiers from the front, her braided white hair wrapped in cowries. To her, the land was survival, soil that fed children and sustained generations. Farmers fought beside trained warriors. Spears glinted beneath the sun, arrows darkened the skies, and vultures circled like spirits. During rainy seasons, battles turned fields to thick mud, where bodies sank like seeds. During dry seasons, dust storms swallowed the screams of the dying. Children grew up knowing only war songs, and mothers buried sons with tears that turned the earth soft. Far away, in a coastal city, a young man named Tahir Mubako packed a worn canvas bag. 24 years old, tall and light brown-skinned with coiled hair, he had been raised in Salah City by his mother after his father, who came from Okambo, died while Tahir was still a toddler. Educated in history and peace studies, he became curious about where he came from. One night, while sorting through old letters, he found a map drawn by his father with a note. "One day, return home. The land remembers you." That message pulled him inward like a spirit's call, and he left to seek his heritage. He arrived in Okambo expecting drums and stories. Instead, he stepped into a land scarred by war. Houses burned on the edges of villages. Displaced families slept on mats under broken huts. Young boys, barely men, carried spears and marched in silence. Women ground grain without laughter. The air tasted like ash. Whispers followed him through the village markets. "He looks like us, but speaks like a foreigner. Is he truly Mubako's son?" His grandfather, old Chief Dambuza, confirmed his bloodline and embraced him with trembling arms. But when Tahir asked why warriors paraded through the village, Dambuza pointed to the smoky horizon and said, "We fight Darunji. They have taken what is ours." The next day, Tahir walked to the edge of a battlefield with a group of Okambo youths, including Kiro, a fiery young warrior who believed fighting was honor. Bodies lay covered in cloth. Farmers carried dead sons home in wheelbarrows. Women wailed with cracked voices. Tahir knelt beside a dying boy, no older than 15, who grasped his hand weakly and whispered, "Tell my mother I tried to defend her land." The boy's eyes dimmed before Tahir could speak. The weight of death settled in his chest like a stone. Unable to remain silent, Tahir crossed into Darunji alone. He was captured by guards and brought before Queen Rashima. Her gaze was sharp as steel. "Why should I not kill you where you stand?" she asked. Tahir bowed. "I am not here to fight. I am here to understand why we kill for what we cannot take to the grave." His sincerity softened her suspicion. She allowed him to walk among her people and see their suffering as well. He followed farmers along cracked soil where crops had once thrived. He helped nurses tend to wounded soldiers. And there he met Aisha, a Darunji healer whose brother died in an Okambo raid. "We plant so our children may live," she said, rinsing blood from her hands. "But now we bury bodies instead of seeds." As Tahir listened, he realized both kingdoms grieved the same losses: sons, brothers, fathers, futures. The soil beneath their feet did not know or care which side bled upon it. When he returned to Okambo, he requested that King Munajo and Queen Rashima meet face to face. At first, both leaders rejected the idea. War had built walls around their hearts. Elders laughed at him. Warriors dismissed him. Some even threatened him. But Tahir persisted, reminding them that no victory was worth a generation of graves. When Queen Rashima finally agreed, not out of trust, but exhaustion, the two rulers met beneath a massive baobab tree at the center of the plains. Soldiers from both sides surrounded them with hands on spears, ready to fight at the slightest provocation. The air was tense enough to split. Tahir stepped between them and spoke not as a scholar, but as a son of the soil. "You fight for land," he said, pressing his palm against the earth. "Soil that will one day cover your bones. The land is older than both kingdoms. It will remain after you are dust. But a life, once taken, never returns." Eyes blinked through tears, spears lowered. "If the land is sacred, why stain it with the blood of its children?" he continued. "A kingdom is not soil. A kingdom is its people. You protect the land so future generations can live, yet you kill the very generations meant to inherit it." Silence settled like nightfall. Queen Rashima spoke first, her voice thin with grief. "We have forgotten why we lived." King Munaho closed his eyes. "We protect Earth, yet destroy lives." That day, war ended without another spear thrown. Both kingdoms agreed the plains would become shared territory, Okambo herders and Darunji farmers using it seasonally without ownership. Instead of digging graves, they planted trees. Instead of war drums, children from both sides beat drums at festivals. The land grew millet, cattle grazed freely, and peace flowed like rain, returning to dry rivers. Tahir remained for months, teaching conflict resolution, literacy, and history so cycles would not repeat. Villagers carved a stone at the heart of the plains. Travelers who passed it read, "Here lies no kingdom's land, only shared earth." Peace began when we chose people over soil. Below it, in smaller letters, Tahir Mubako, son of two lands. The plains remained as they always had, unchanged, eternal. But the people finally lived long enough to walk them in peace.